Meir Weinstein, the National Director of Jewish Defense League, JDL. Welcome. Welcome back, actually. You've been here many times. Welcome back.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
It has been a while.
Yes.
Lots of things have been happening. You know, things have changed dramatically.
Yes.
What's happening now? Tell us.
Well, let's look on
the bright side? Is there a bright side?
We have a lot of problems here. And that's why the Jewish Defense League exists, because I headed it in the 80s, and the issue back then was Nazi war criminals and people like Ernst Sundel and Jim Keegstra and other haters. And we did our job. And I brought it back several years ago here because there is such a virulent upsurge in anti-Semitism, particularly BDS organizations that are not only on campus, but in the streets and in government as well. So what we have here, for instance, let me give you a for instance. The Jewish community is very involved, Jewish community leaders and Jewish community groups, in trying to bring in so-called Syrian refugees, I call them that. And we have, for instance, in the Trudeau government.
But we know, just to say, we know that a lot of them, I'm sorry, from what I read and what I know, were not refugees, actually lived in Turkey. They didn't come from Syria, they were actually living in Turkey. But anyway,
exactly,
okay, continue.
Exactly. Let me give you an example of something that is pretty shocking. That the minister in charge of consulate affairs, his name is Omer Al-Gabra. And he's got quite a history already, associations with groups that are very unsavory for the Jewish community. He was the leader of the Canadian Arab Federation. That organization was exposed and defunded by the previous government for their involvement with anti-Semitism. Right. So his right-hand man, Omer Al-Gabra, who is a teacher with the Toronto District School Board, this Sunday, which is November 13th, for when this will be shown,
I'm going to stop it for 1 second, and we're going to go back because he's not supposed to mention a date, so we're going to have to cut it. So don't mention a date, just say he speaks. Right. Just continue. Okay,
so the right-hand man of Omer Al-Gabra, Mr. Badir, Faraz Badir, will be speaking at an event in Mississauga to commemorate and honor the founding of the Syrian National Social Party.
Okay, so explain to us, layman people that we don't know, so big deal, so what?
The Syrian National Social Party is, number one, their emblem is very similar to a swastika. Number two, their platform calls for the destruction of Israel and the Zionist entity. They're very clear about that. And and he's going to be speaking about the BDS, the importance to boycott Israel.
I always wonder, I'm sorry, Meir, I have to say it, when they say they want to boycott everything and anything Israel, but really they don't want to boycott everything that Israel has, invented and created. They just want to pick and choose what they want because they use a lot of our invention to heal them, and computers and so many other things. That's okay. Where are we? Where are our voices?
Jean-Paul Sartre, who wrote a book, The Anti-Semite and the Jew, and he writes about anti-Semitism. What is it? Where's the logic? There is no logic. It's an irrational passion that people have to hate Jews. And why boycott Israel and why target Israel?
But why hate? They don't even know us. Why hate? Why do you hate me? You don't even know me.
Look at a map of the Middle East, and you see tiny little Israel helping people, and even helping people who are brutalized from Syria. Yeah. But you look at what goes on in Syria, and you look at what goes on in other Middle Eastern countries to slaughter and everything, and to isolate Israel for condemnation. Yeah. And it has definitely morphed into anti-Semitism. They don't want to accept any type of Jewish state. To them, there is no concept of a two-state solution, period. There's nothing like that.
I know, they want to push us to the sea. We all know that.
But here's the thing, is that Omer Al-Gabra, who is also connections to Syria, and his right-hand man speaking to commemorate the Syrian National Social party, and bear in mind that in Germany there was a party called the National Socialist German Workers' Party, headed by Adolf Hitler. National Socialism is Nazism, and the founder of that Syrian party had an admiration for Hitler. Who are these Syrians who are coming in that Jewish organizations are working for to bring into Canada and to help bring into the West? Our leaders are asleep at the switch. Yep. And will do anything that seems to be a popular thing, except...
they want to be politically correct.
And politically correctness is going to bury Jews. It didn't help during the Holocaust, and it won't help now. Thank God we have a state of Israel. It's strong, but
absolutely.
That's the future.
What's the future?
The future is for Jews to be more attached to Israel and
well, a lot of us are still.
That's right.
All of us.
That's right.
I mean, we are.
But while we're here, we have to expose these organizations and confront these organizations. And they're extremely active on the campuses, and Jewish organizations, even student groups on the campus, are too intimidated by the climate that is on campus to hold events, aggressive events, to advocate for Israel.
What can they do? What can the average, person from the Jewish community or Israeli community, what can they do?
They have to get some courage and some muscle and hold events.
What do you mean by muscle?
Well, I mean that they should not feel intimidated and pushed around and allow themselves to be pushed around or intimidated. They have to have events on campus openly, not hidden. There was an event, for instance, a recent one in London, England, on a campus there, where they brought in a speaker. And it was practically shut down, and the Jewish supporters of Israel had to huddle in a room hidden away while the anti-Israel mob is chanting and threatening and pushing, and people are very scared. We can't have that. We have to get courage, and we have to learn martial arts. We have to do everything possible to get a self-confidence there and stand up and never take a back seat to them.
Isn't that interesting that you mentioned martial art? Why do you think, and then I'll tell you what I think about the subject.
I don't think people respect anyone that turns the other cheek. I think you have to learn how to defend yourself and how to defend your people and stand up for the honor of your people. And when a bully comes and starts pushing, you don't run.
No.
You stand up to them, and people respect you for that. And when I led the JDL in the 80s, and we went after people like Ernst Zundel and Jim Keegstra and Terry Long from the Aryan nations, and we shut them down. When people saw that we meant it and we stood up to them, a lot of people who are not Jewish came out and supported us and understood our message fully and put themselves at risk for us.
So what do you think changed now? You think
what has changed now is the Jewish perspective on how to deal with that. You have a lot of Jewish leaders. CJO works tirelessly to condemn the Jewish Defense League. God knows why, but that's what they do. They have issued news releases against us in Montreal, and here they've spoken up against us. We have to ignore that. We have to realize that the more we allow the haters to push the Jewish community and members of our community around, the more that's an open opportunity to elevate the hate. And we have to stand up to it, and we have to get courage. And don't look to the UJA. Unfortunately, I'd love to be able to look to them, but don't look to the UJA and CJA and such organizations for guidance when it comes to getting courage. Come to the Jewish Defense League. Well, come to the Jewish Defense League, and I'll challenge them on anything. I've been involved in hunting Nazi war criminals in Canada.
They're not here to defend themselves, so that's why I meant,
I'll debate them anytime.
Okay.
But I have been involved, got a long history of involvement, testifying against Nazi war criminals in Canada, uncovering where they are on many different levels, putting myself at risk. I've done it. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to anti-Semitism. I know the topic. And I know what these people understand, the haters. And if we get some direction from the UJA, great. But if we don't, just ignore them and move on and do the right thing. We know what the right thing to do is, and that's not to turn the other cheek.
Listen, I believe that the community, I really truly believe, are sleeping. I believe that we're sleeping, that we're not doing what we should be doing.
Right.
I believe that, yes, everybody should get some kind of, I don't know, defense, learn
Right.
how to defend yourself. I see what's, going on in Europe, so I believe it very strongly, but I believe that we're also sleeping and we're not doing enough. And before long, when we will wake up, it may be too late.
It's the hourglass is going. Time is slipping. We have to do as much as we can here on the issue, but
so what
thank
do you
God
want
we have
the
in Israel.
average person that's watching us right now, what would you like them to do?
I want them to get involved now with the Jewish Defense League.
How?
Go to our website and send us your contact information. Mm-hmm. We opened up a branch in Alberta. We're active there. Mm-hmm. We opened up a branch in Montreal. We're opening up a branch in New York. I'll be there on later in November to have a commemorative event for Rabbi Meir Kahana at the very hotel where he was assassinated, downtown Manhattan. Get involved with the JDL. We have, for instance, Al-Quds Day, when that happened in the beginning of July. We had counter rallies in Toronto.
I was there.
Yeah, in Toronto we had it. We had it in Alberta.
Yep.
And in Alberta, in particular, in Calgary, a couple of years ago, Jews were attacked, opposing it. Just a few Jews showed up to counter it. But this time around, that was not repeated. We have an active group there. We had a counter in Chicago. We had a counter in Boston. We had a counter in New York City as well. I was there for New York City as well. We have to resurrect the organization all over the place in major cities and see to it that our community will not feel intimidated.
I would like to say on your behalf, because I happen to be there, and you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
The last words, there's a myth they're saying that, JDL, oh my God, that, they're violent. They're not. I was there. I've been a witness for many, many times. So I'm going to give you the last words. What do you say to those that say the JDL is a violent organization?
Come and sit down with us, and you'll see we speak the truth. And you'll see the only violence is, on that issue of violence, you might as well close down every single martial arts club in North America, because essentially they preach violence. That's the kind of violence that we preach. Somebody comes to hit you, you stop him from hitting you. If he continues to, well, you try to arrest him then and hand him over to the police. Okay. But you don't allow yourselves to get bloodied. Fair
enough. Mayor, you have to come back. It's been too long. And tell us what's going on. And for those of you that think there is a need, please get in touch with the JDL. Or let's do something. We need to do something. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
And come back and tell us what's going on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.